So these are some wisdoms from this ashram that I visited called Ananda Ashram over the time. There were people there who were leading retreats. There was people who quoted people, and there was people who were just people who were living there. So I have a whole mixture of stuff from there, and also my own notes and things that people mentioned that I read really quickly. And so I will give, a first quote from Deepak Chopra, which is, "We are all what everything is, probability." So that was really where I started. What is probable is a possibility. It doesn't mean anything is so certain or that we can avoid what actually is. So my goal here is to share how to have that ashram feeling inside. That's what all this is about. How to have a whole heart where we don't have to hide from ourselves inside. So Raman is someone there who used to have workshops, and we talked a lot. And he said the presence versus the process of thoughts taking over is when the master leaves the house, the thieves run the house. But when we have a trauma-informed approach, survival thoughts are important and are not negligible, but remain as they are. We should be aware and clear, but not get into the domino effect spiraling into autopilot. And we can feel it rather than be in the neurosis, which is the mind is thinking the past is now. So we have to repeat the past is not now, and maybe include details like the age, the location. Right now, I am 32 years old. My name is Shayna, and I'm in my apartment in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and Blank Avenue, trying to be safe. And so rather than being in the neuroses, we can, fear's in the body. That's where we access it. So a lot of things like shaking, like even if it looks like it's crazy, like we call a lot of kids autistic now for having very natural abilities to release pent-up anxiety and energy, and we're sort of forcing them to go into the factory mindset, which can be a lot of trauma for the person. So for the child when they grow up and they're an adult. So anyway, Karen, someone there, said, we have to commit to a self-permission to form thought before speech. So we can even say, give me a second until I'm ready to share, breathe through the pressure to talk, which is often like reactive spit back. And there's these codependently fixing tendencies where we could see what we can do, what the person can do for their own self, and choose a polite no when they can do it for themselves. We can use this excuse or the truth, depending on the person and if it's an honest relationship. And number 2, we can ask, can I empower you or help you to do it for yourself? And 3, what would it take for you to do it for yourself? We could ask them. Dorothy is someone who told me, wherever you go, that's where you are. And there'll be a time where I'll share more from Dorothy because we had a closer connection. And Carmina said, every man is a father for everyone, and every woman is a mother for everyone. And we value being we can value being pragmatic even with children. This is through integrity, through modeling like the real I am, a whole heart. Instead of always being the expert, having integrity is even when we make mistakes. So we can surrender as a yes woman, which lets us receive yes. 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 Instead of like sticking our neck out, we could go, yes. Life is coming through us. Since I don't know what will happen, and neither does anyone. And even when we could say, like, if I punch this wall, I'll probably hurt my hand. But then what? So Joan Suval ran a retreat there, and I think most of this is from the rest of what I'm going to share now is from Joan Suval, who I listened to videos of her. She passed away. I listened to her in lectures, and also she was so wise. And I attended my first retreat at Ananda Ashram when she was there. At that time, I ate those foods and prayed in those places. And now it's not exactly like that for me, but, for the most part, I find that all her wisdom, not for the most part, I find all her wisdom is, for the most part, helpful or I haven't maybe found a way to apply it yet, because I'm still growing. And she was an elder, this wonderful woman. I'm pretty certain she's Jewish, and I found that she made a real connection with the man who started, the guru, the teacher, who started, the founder of this ashram, Ananda ashram. So she had, she was a transmitter. So she says, you know, and I remember also the first retreat I went to was silence. We were in silence for days. And at the end, we culminated with ecstatic dance. So anyway, let me get into some of these teachings are from that retreat and other times, and then talks she gave. And then, you know, they used to have this thing on Saturday nights. She would give a talk, I think it was once a month or something. And also, like I said, she had lectures online. You can look her up, Joan, Joan Suval, Suval. Work is in the challenge. It will inevitably get worse. We need it. The need is to endure. So if others knew better, they'd do better. So we can let them have their way if they need it more. And one day that nudging push will bring us to a bliss in our blood circulating. It's an intuition. And also we can let others make a fool out of us. We are one already. And at the peak of effort, we have to unburden, release the baggage. It's a chance to become more weightless and let go of the worthless garbage. And when we learn how to say things like, I didn't know, I'm sorry, or I didn't know I made you uncomfortable, we can also then let go of these ties. And also we can then also part of this is carrying ourselves as the body, mind, heart, spirit, whatever, not whatever, but I mean, like, I'm not getting too stuck on the names here, but as being the center of our world. And when we look at suffering, it's an ego, it's possessiveness, jealousy, hatred, attachments, fear, greed, anger. Like if someone hurts me, they're not worth remembering, regardless if they just didn't understand or if they tried deliberately to harm or lack capacity to relate. That is true even for family. And we can't use half a chicken for laying eggs and half for soup. That was a good quote, she said. And not good, just like something that keeps unraveling. Like it's idea of like half-assing. Like you can't cook the chicken in the soup and then also have it laying your eggs, right? So if we're just kind of trying to get whatever we could out of it before it ends, then we're most likely not able to even get the benefits that are for free, like the eggs. And there is a need of letting the world dissolve and ground down, if possible, anywhere, anytime, even if we're on the toilet is the only time that we can come up with, you know? And also, like, you know, because that's creating a familiar habit, because that's creating a new habit, we can say, like, well, familiar habits that we identify with can be scary to drop because we're scared of not being ourselves, of being unknown to ourselves, even if they're creating misery. And what we fear about death is the true unknowing about it and the losing of attachments, even nature, music, family, and like not knowing if it's bad or good, a blessing or a curse, beautiful or ugly. But one thing's certain, death will not leave us intact. It'll change us forever, taking our mind and body and take us to another dimension without all the memories. This is what Joan is sharing. Without all the memories, knowledge, skills that we're rushing to accumulate. Can't carry it with us necessarily. It's our actions, it's our presence, it's a quality that can last. Soft bodies are more huggable than gym bodies, like babies, and our real form is our witnessing form. Trying to return to it as often and as much as possible will remind us of where, when, why, how we're happy, without all the ambitions, improvements, competition of the world's workplace, like the factory mindset idea. Meditation is choosing our own death of the ego that collects attachments, not the ego we need to function. And we commit like a suicide as the prerequisite for being reborn. Our, past life beings will be recognized by old habits, people that deeply impact us. And if we keep re-experiencing the same lifetimes, we'll keep re-experiencing the same deaths. And death changes our skin, but keeps the unmet needs and desires. So the only way to be reborn, resurrected, enlightened is by individual transformation that makes it impossible to keep doing what we've been doing. And all the colors mixed together is white. light and pure, versus the darkness that is caused by ego, attachments, life experiences, separation. And when people call the Buddha mind, and I don't mean an idol worship of the Buddha, I mean that each of us have that. In Hebrew, we call it the Pintele Yid, that in Judaism, that little spark. It's not little or big, that spark of the primordial first being through us is a wind from nowhere to nowhere. We all have it. And the inside is reflected outside. So pride and anger, which encrust the heart, there are two things from ego and are only two life obstacles. So pain is inevitable. We don't have to have pride or anger about it. And emotional, physical suffering is optional, because when we practice restraint, only when harming, we can start to realize that over 5,000 wars in history, and we've not always been innocent or on the right side, and everyone has been in some kind of baby souls were killed in the Holocaust, weren't always babies. At some point in lifetimes, they might have been a killer. And maybe the baby dies painlessly, which reflects a past life too, as the grief and loss the parents feel. So these parents may have had previous, so this is a Jewish idea, which is called Gilgul, reincarnation, but it also exists in many other, traditions. For example, she's a yogi, and even commented a few Buddhist concepts. So another idea she brought in is that the planet contracts and expands over thousands of years period, like a renaissance. And it doesn't mean actually necessarily physically, it means the probabilities or the possibilities of actual manifestation, materialism, of what is as a whole heart, right? We should do what we need, we should do what's natural for us, really, whether we're lovers, teachers, reformers, warriors, or healers. But we shouldn't be ignorant. We have to see the violence and the hate. And we have to see where we're violent or hateful. And we mirror the world, it mirrors us. So when we say we can't, I can't, actually, we mirror the world and the world mirrors us. So we can change the world with love. We can.